Good morning. It is Saturday, September 23rd. It's a very, very special day here on the Gribley's Folly channel. We're coming at you from the Gribley's Folly Community Garden and Massage Bar. Shit. Your boy Gribbs needs a little more caffeine to get through this one. Okay, so let's do it. We got a lot to talk about because number one, it's the first day of fall, and that means I was wrong. I was wrong. We are not at war with North Korea. World War III did not come by the end of the summer. And rather than extend my prediction and say, oh, well, we're almost there, because we are almost losing news right now. But rather than do that, I'm going to admit that I was wrong and leave it at that. And if World War III starts today, I was still wrong. I can't take any satisfaction in saying I told you so, because I was the day off. So there's that. The other thing that this date means is that this is probably the last video you're going to see from me, because today is the end of the world. That's right. Christian numerologist David Meade has predicted that today will be the day that the mystery planet X/Nibiru comes into our orbit, crosses our orbit, orbits us. I don't quite know all the astronomicological explanations of all of what's going to happen, but Christian numerologist, and let me tell you, I grew up in the church. My dad was a minister, and I remember all those frantic midnight phone calls from the church numerologist of like, hello? Not tomorrow? Okay, cool. You know, like, I'm with you. So it's been nice smoking my pipe with you guys here on YouTube and going on adventures, and we've had a good time. I'm sorry if you've been displeased with my videos, like my recent commenter, whose handle I don't remember, but I think it was just a bunch of letters, commented on my missing 411 ramble from last week, and said that the guy, David Paulides, who comes up with it first, he said, I'm not pronouncing David Paulides' name correctly. I'm sorry about that. I do not intend to do that. I did not know that the P was silent. So David Paulides is not a conspiracy theorist, according to this commenter. He just believes in Bigfoot. Let me just shut this down real quick. Number one, there is no Bigfoot. You know how many trail cameras exist in this country? Ain't no Bigfoot. Number two, Mr. All-Odds sells his books. There are multiple books in this Missing 411 series. Sells them for $25 a piece. So, you know, I recognize we're a very affluent society, but it seems to me that if I had information that I thought pertained to the actual safety of people going into the woods, I would try to make the basics available for free. When I hike the trails in the creepy national forest that is the setting for the Missing 111 stuff, and I'm not saying there's nothing there. I'm pretty creeped out by that, actually. But when I walk those trails and I go up to the sign that says bear encounters reported here, I don't have to swipe my credit card to read what to do. Like, it's got a sign that's like, here's some bears. Don't do this, don't do this, do this. That's what the Missing 411 project would be about if this guy were actually concerned. Until further evidence is presented, I'm going to say that Mr. All-Odds is a crazy conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat wearing wacko. But the stuff that he's actually putting forth, there might be some validity to it. I don't know. So I have sped through my preamble because I want to get to the important part of this video. But first, I'm going to light my pipe. Had to adjust the camera angle for this for the rest of this ramble. So, my buddy Iron Rails and Pipe Dreams has asked my opinion. Now we're all wobbly, aren't we? It's the gravitational forces in Nibiru. They're coming to get us. They're coming to get us. Okay, I'll just try not to touch the table. So, Iron Rails and Pipe Dreams has asked me my opinion on the FEMA camp theory, the theory that the Federal Emergency Management Agency is building death camps to handle dissidents and political enemies, various undesirables, in the face of a coming societal political revolution. And given the intro to this, the preamble to this, I think, man, it's really hard not to touch the table. It's just making me, okay, all right, okay. So, given the preamble to this ramble, the pre-ramble, you would think that I would just dismiss this theory out of hand, and you'd be wrong. I think it's very perilous to dismiss conspiracy theories out of hand, because My philosophy of the way government works is that government governs, and the nature of the verb to govern is to enforce the will of some agency, power, or principality with force. Otherwise, we're all just writing bylaws for our homeowners association. So, you stop at a stop sign because you know that somewhere down the road, if you don't, you'll get a ticket. If you don't pay the ticket, they come to get you. They fine you more or whatever. Eventually, a man with a badge and a gun will show up and haul your ass away with force. That's the basis of governing. So, government governs. If you're in North Korea, you govern by saying, no one is ever going to say anything bad about me ever. And if you do, I'll kill the hell out of you. If you're in the free world, your task is a little more difficult because we have free speech. I'm able to get on here and talk about FEMA camps. We can talk about UFOs, and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, Bigfoot, and the government can't do anything about it. Or more accurately, is disincentivized from doing anything about it. However, the government is still nefarious. They still have nefarious deeds to cover up, things like Fast and Furious, Operation Northwoods, whatever you want. There are plenty of real, actual, verifiable, horrible things that the government does. How do they cover those up? Conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories. You have some guy like David All-Odds, and you bring him out, and you trot him out, and you say, well, hey, there's all these people disappearing. The government isn't keeping track in its national parks of the missing persons. Isn't that kind of a weird thing? But then the guy is also a Bigfooter, so he's easy to dismiss. Alex Jones is the perfect example of this. He comes out and he says, UFOs, reptilian overlords, FEMA death camps, blah, 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 blah. And so then when actual political pundits come out and they say, let's just hypothesize here for a second, like, in our wildest imagination, what would happen if the duly elected president actually received a whole bunch of help from a hostile foreign power to become the president? And then the president could say, whoa, 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 you're just a conspiracy theorist like Alex Jones. By the way, I gave Alex Jones White House press credentials, but whatever. So at one time, simultaneously, conspiracy theories serve the government because they are disinformation. And at the same time, we as a populace dismiss them at our peril because, well, some of them are true. Which ones are true? That's what we're here to talk about. Does FEMA have contingency plans for interning masses and masses of people? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? That's good. I want them to have those plans because there are times in government, and there are times in the affairs of men. What's the phrase? In the course of human events, there are times when a whole mass of people needs to be interned. Look at the refugee crisis in Europe. That is a legitimate reason for having camps to put people in. Hurricane Harvey. What was the other? Irma. It's been a week. It's been a week now. I've forgotten about the latest national disaster. And these things are actually nothing compared to the things that could happen. And even though the government denies it, even though most of us deny it, there are really, really big things that could happen that could result in a lot of displaced people. Yes, I am glad FEMA has plans in place for that. Do I think those plans include eventually killing those people in those camps? No, I don't think so. I don't think so because, at least not on purpose. Maybe those plans, include how you ration food, and when food gets really scarce, how you would decrease those rations. I think there's probably some contingencies in place that say, when things really get rough, Soviet prisoner of war camp rough, we're going to accept a certain level of casualty. I think that is, do they actually plan to murder people? No, I don't believe that, and here's why. They don't need to. They don't need to. The government, if it wants to enact its nefarious goals, if it wants to manifest its own power, in 2017, It no longer needs to kill people to do it. Look at the rate of voter turnout. And you got to remember, voter turnout is not a measure of actual involved citizenry. Voter turnout is a measure of warm bodies at the polls. And the people that vote in a presidential election, what is it, 50%? 50% of the registered voters actually vote in presidential, I don't know, I'm just pulling that number out, but let's just say 50%. Of that percentage, how many of those people voted in the midterms? How many of those people voted in the primaries for the midterms? How many people voted on their local levels? Now you're down to like 25%. Actually, it's probably lower than that, but let's just say 25%. So of those people, the vast majority of them are partisan hacks. The vast majority. We know how they're going to vote. Every time they vote the same way. Modern elections since I can't remember. I think it's since like LBJ or something like that. Modern elections are not about convincing people which way to vote. It's about getting the people that are already going to vote for you out to the polls. That's certainly how it is in my locality. So of the 25% that are actually civically engaged in changing their government, altering and abolishing, blah, 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 quote whatever Jeffersonian phrase you want, of those 25%, the vast majority, like 90% of them, are nothing but partisan hacks that are there to advance the agenda that they are told to advance. So because math is not my strong suit, we will just say that 10% of the Americans might actually do something about government overreach, right? Maybe. 10%. But the thing is, of that 10% that might actually be active, 5% will agree with the overreach. Let that sink in for a second. Of the people that actually know what's going on, 5%, or 50% of those people, of this selection that we've gotten down to, they'll be like, yeah, we probably should round up all the Muslims, or yeah, we probably should round up all the Trump supporters. So now you've selected for people who are principally opposed to the overreach of government, right? And you're down to like 5%. Well, no, we've selected for the people that disagree with the government's overreach, not necessarily on principle grounds. So the ones that are doing it on principle, and anyway, you're down to like 5% of the population that might actually be motivated to resist a government overreach. Being motivated doesn't mean shit. Do you have the resources to do it? Do you have the knowledge to do it? You see where I'm going with this. Then you get to the biggest selector of all, which is, do you have the balls to do it? The answer to that is no. That's my answer. And that's your answer too. Think about it. If you had the balls to do something, wouldn't you have already done it? And the other thing to point out is, in historical precedent, when people have the balls and do something, it's because their actual lives were really bad. It's because things had gotten to a point where it was better to go out into the street and engage in violence than to watch your kid eat half a potato for its only meal that day. It's only his or her only meal that day. The actual uprisings against government happen because people are physically uncomfortable, not because they're pissed off. So my point is, faced with government encroachment, faced with tyranny, 99.9% of people will do jack shit. That's the dark truth. That's the thing they don't want you to know. That's the sinister underbelly here of American political discourse is, we're all just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. No one's going to actually do anything. This is on the course that it's on, and it's going to take that course. FEMA doesn't need to produce death camps. We have Pokemon Go. We have Taylor Swift. We have whatever distracts people, whatever keeps them comfortable, so they're not going to do anything. And for the people that are like, wait a minute, something's going on, well, we have FEMA death camps to talk about. We have this disinformation that is spread, whether by the government or just in the psyche of citizens who are saying, I think it's really interesting that the Walmart thing comes in with the FEMA, like the the idea that the FEMA death camps are going to be set up in these empty Walmarts, because I think that you can't be a feeling human being without and walk into Walmart and not be like, something's up with this place. Something ain't right in here. And I think it's a really interesting like connection that seems to be made in the darker part of our Jungian psyche, that we connect. Like, we know that the government is up to something sinister, and we know Walmart sucks. So we put those two things together. Anyway, yeah, we have these conspiracy theories to distract the people that have the sense that something's going on. And what's going on is the government does whatever it wants and people go along with it. That's the simple, terrible fact of life. So do I believe in the FEMA death camp theory? No, not because I don't think it's something the government will. And okay, so right, then you come back and you say, well, what about Hitler? Hitler had death camps. He built them expressly to kill people. Yeah, that was Hitler's motive. That he didn't build the death camps because the Jews were speaking out against his policies. He built the death camps because his policy was to kill Jews. And he was very clear about that. And so it's not a situation. And now Stalin, you could say Stalin had plans in place to cover dissidents. But I think Stalin's, like Hitler, Stalin, these guys are actually evil. Like, their motive is to kill people. The FEMA camp theory seems to be that the government has some other motive, and the FEMA camps are there to handle the people that disagree with that motive. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. There aren't enough people to resist. And this has been a very depressing Saturday ramble on the Gribley's Folly channel. These rambles often go this direction, don't they? Maybe I should up my dosage. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more uplifting outdoor videos. And if you're just really down in the dumps after watching this, you might try eating a brown sugar Pop-Tart. It might make you feel a little bit better. Y'all keep the ends out for the ties that bind.